Neck strengthening programs. So there's a ton of people out there promoting neck strengthening. I don't know if you guys have seen, there's this thing called the Iron Neck. There's other neck strengthening programs that have been, that they're talking about will reduce your risk of concussion. Now, why? Where does this idea come from? Well, like I said, concussion is from the brain accelerating, decelerating. So in order for the brain to accelerate, decelerate, the head has to accelerate, decelerate. And in order for the head to accelerate, decelerate, there has to be movement through the neck. If the neck is stiff, let's say the neck was a rigid object, right? Let's say it doesn't move at all. And let's say you were to have like some sort of hard collar on your neck and you were able to completely stabilize your neck and have no movement at all. If you were to get hit, let's say in football, and somebody came from the side and hit you in the side of the head, because of your neck being completely fixed to your torso, in my hypothetical scenario, the moment arm, meaning that the torque that would be required to move your head to a significant degree to cause acceleration would have to be so high that it would just be inconceivable. Because if you're going to get hit in the head, now if your neck is fixed to your body, now your whole torso would have to be moved in order to move your head, which means that you'd have to have basically an inconceivable amount of force that would happen. And so in 2007, researcher by the name of Viano and colleagues did a finite element study where they took NFL impacts and college football impacts and they put them into a modeling software program where they looked at different variables. They looked at all these concussions that occurred and said, well, what if we made the helmet thicker? What if we made the padding more dense? What if we changed the material the helmet was made out of? And they plugged all this stuff into a computer model. And that model would spit out results of head acceleration. And is that enough of a reduction to reduce the chances of this injury or this thing causing a concussion? The number one variable that reduced concussion risk or head acceleration was neck stiffness. If we increased the stiffness variable of the neck, then the head accelerated much, much less, and this was actually protective against concussion injury. They've done studies in animals back in the 40s, in cats. People don't like when I talk about this study, so you cat lovers, plug your ears, earmuffs. What they would do is they would have cats that were kind of positioned on this thing, and they would swing a pendulum down, and it would hit them in the side of the head, and it would give them a concussion. Then they took a next group of animals, brought them in, and stabilized their head and neck so they didn't allow any movement whatsoever. And then they would swing the pendulum down and hit them in the side of the head. And I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like, concussion could not be achieved even with the maximum velocity obtainable by the apparatus. So I'm picturing a bunch of researchers sitting around trying to really hum this thing down and hit this cat. But yet, because the head remains stable, if there's no movement of the head, there's no acceleration. If there's no acceleration, there's no concussion injury. So the idea here, neck stiffness became the number one variable for reducing head acceleration. So then this led people to think neck stiffness, neck strength. What if we were to strengthen the neck? So then all this research started being done looking at neck strength. But here's the problem. Neck strength and neck stiffness are two different things. If you have a really strong neck, but you're not contracting your neck can move all over the place, right? You don't think NFL players have strong necks? They have really, really strong necks. But usually when they're going to get concussed, it's when they're unaware that the hit is going to happen. So in order to have a stiff neck, you need a strong neck that's under active contraction, meaning that you have to know the hit is coming, and you need enough time to contract your neck and stiffen it up so that when the hit does happen, you're able to have a protective effect. But here's the problem. In this same study by Viano that I was just talking about, the peak linear acceleration of these impacts happened within the first 6 to 20 milliseconds of impact. So basically within the first 6 to 20 milliseconds of being impacted, the concussion has already occurred. Now, if we look at biomechanical research around contraction of the neck, we find that it takes between 100 and 200 milliseconds to even initiate contraction of the muscles of your neck. So they do these EMG studies where they put these little electrodes on the neck, and then there's a cue. Okay, contract, contract, contract. And they see how long it takes. The average is between 100 and 200 milliseconds to even start to contract the muscles of your neck. It takes another 90 milliseconds to even get to 1/2 of the contractile strength of your neck. So if the injury happens in the first 6 to 20 milliseconds, by the time it happens, you don't even have time to contract your neck muscles. The injury's already occurred. The only way that neck strength then becomes an effective strategy for reducing concussion risk is if you know at least a half second ahead of time that you're going to get hit. And if you know a half second ahead of time that you're going to get hit, why don't you just get out of the way? Right? Why contract your neck muscles and worry about that? So neck strengthening as an idea is not been shown to be effective. Now this gets into another idea, which is game awareness, knowing your surroundings. There's been some research that has shown that vision training in football players before the season starts actually led to a reduction in concussion injuries. That's probably because they're able now to pick up more stuff that's going on in the field. They're more aware of their surroundings, which means they're more able to avoid impacts. So if you're able to contract your neck fast enough to have game awareness, if you have game awareness and you might be able to contract your neck fast enough when an impact occurs. So like I said, there was studies that were done with college football players preseason doing vision training having better or having lower concussion risk. Now, the other thing is neuromotor training of the neck. Can you learn to contract your neck faster when an impact is about to occur? Schmidt et al. 2014 found that our findings show that greater cervical stiffness and less angular displacement after perturbation reduced the odds of sustaining higher magnitude impacts. However, our findings did not show that players with stronger and larger neck muscles mitigate head impact severity. Rather than strength training, neuromuscular training designed to enhance cervical muscle dynamic responses may be a more suitable and effective approach to reduce the odds of sustaining high magnitude impacts among football athletes. So again, getting into more neuromuscular side of things, maybe being able to react quicker might be effective. Smith et al. 2019, this is from the proceedings from the Ice Hockey Summit. Reduction of concussion risk and severity from stronger neck muscles remains to be proven. Dynamic stiffness, the ability to resist movement from a perturbation force and hit anticipation, were more influential than neck muscle strength alone. Jin et al. 2017, neck muscle activation timing rather than muscle strength can reduce the chance of injury. Anticipating the head impact and contracting the muscles accordingly prior to impact can effectively decrease the chance of injury. That or more awareness means you can maybe get out of the way and avoid the hit altogether. Clark et al. 2015, this is the study I was talking about, demonstrated an 85% reduction in concussion risk in collegiate football with preseason vision training programs.